What's up, everybody? Rob here, Sage Tower Games, and we are back with some more Marvel Champion card reviews. And this time we are here with the Star-Lord Hero Pack. Now, the Star-Lord pack and the Gamora pack both got released at the same time, so most people should have them if they have ordered them, pre-ordered them from someplace. And I know that there have been spoilers showing the cards, some online, but I kind of wanted to have the cards in my hand first and kind of go through them with you guys as I physically go through them instead of just looking at a screen online. Okay? So, without further ado, let's hop into Star-Lord with Peter Quill himself. 10 hit points, 6 hand size, 3 recovery. Pretty standard, nothing crazy about that. Setup. Search your deck and discard pile for a copy of the Element Gun upgrade and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So he's gonna start the game with his gun in his hand. Smooth Talker. Choose a card in your hand. Swap that card with the top card of your deck. Limit once per round. So it's a way to cycle the card if you don't want that card, or maybe you get that card a turn late. You know, maybe you got Maria Hill, but you want to play her like next turn when you're the first player kind of deal. Or you gotta combine that with like Brainstorm and stuff like that. So pretty interesting. Flip them around to Star-Lord. 2 thwart, 2 attack, 1 defense. A pretty good stat line. I mean, good thwart and good attacking. Each ally you control gains the Guardian trait. So any cards that focus on Guardians, you can now play on the allies. And what could go wrong? When you play a card from your hand, deal yourself 1 face down encounter card, reduce the resource cost to play that card by 3. And that's really Star-Lord's main gimmick for his deck, is he wants encounter cards to be in front of him. And then he's going to, it makes a lot of his cards stronger. So he's kind of living dangerously by just throwing a bunch of cards at him. How that will work, we'll have to see, because he might get, 2, 3, 4 encounter cards a turn, but if his cards are worth it, it could be fine. So let's look at his cards. So we do get a signature ally in this one, and it is Nova Prime. And Nova Prime is an interesting ally. 5 cost, but remember, if you did the ability, he would only be a 2 cost. 2 thwart, 3 attack, 3 health. So pretty decent stat line. And in response, when you play Nova Prime from your hand, defeat a non-elite minion. So he automatically defeats any minion who's not like a special souped up minion. Just gone. No problem. That's pretty good. And if you play him for cheap, even better. I probably wouldn't play Nova Prime straight out as a 5. He's kind of the one that I would set up with the encounter card thing to play him for a 2 and then kind of use that to build off my other cards. But how else do you build? Well, we have 3 copies of Daring Escape, which is deal yourself 1 hero card, 1 face down encounter card, ready your hero, and draw 1 card. So you get to ready, and you get to draw a card from it. Pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty good way to do it. Gutsy move. Remove 2 threat from a scheme. Remove 2 additional threat from that scheme for each face down encounter card in front of you for 2. So if you have 1 encounter card in front of you, it's essentially a 4 justice. 2 for 4. You have 2 for 6, it can start to build up. Especially if you play a Daring Escape, and then you play your ability, so you have 2 cards in front of you, that becomes a 2 for 6 now all of a sudden. Pretty good. We also have the attack version of it, 3 copies of Sliding Shot. Play only if you control an element gun, so you need one of your guns to actually do it. 3 costs for 5 damage. But you deal 2 additional damage for every card in front of you. So again, you play a Daring Escape, and your ability, let's just say you kind of have that as a default, 2 cards. That makes it a 3 for 9. Or 3 in 1 card, 3 for 7. What is interesting though, because it's a 3 cost, you could technically put a card in front of you and then play the sliding shot for free. So it's a 0 for 7, which is pretty good actually for that burst damage. So you can see the cards that kind of really start to combo together. But the damage can definitely be spiky. We have another card I think people were really hyped for, and that is Bad Boy. Now, Bad Boy is a vehicle support, 3 cost, again, could come out for free. And when you would take any amount of damage from the villain's attack, discard it, prevent all of that damage, change to Alter Ego, and draw two cards. So what's interesting about this is that it forces the change. You can't not change. It could be a good plan to, when you get a bunch of encounter cards, use the Bad Boy to flip to Alter Ego, and maybe you don't get hit. Obviously you have potential to scheme out, but you might not take like a bunch of hits. So then, I mean, if say you have like Gangs Up or Assault, stacked up in that pile, it could be a way to get around that. But it's also good to just avoid that big hit that some villains can do. Of course, the element guns, the ones that we talked about, that you get at least 1 copy in your hand to start with, also a 3 cost card, so again, could be free. Exhaust element gun and spend 1 resource of any type. Deal 3 damage to an enemy, and this gains piercing. So it does cost you, there's no charges, you have to spend a resource to fire it. But it's 3 damage and it breaks tough. That's pretty good. I haven't seen many tough instances, but just being able to break tough and shoot 3 from 1 cost, and especially even if you have that extra card in your hand that you have nothing to do with, pretty good to get rid of it. Got a copy of Jet Boots. Star-Lord gains the aerial trait. A lot of things are getting aerial these days. When Star-Lord will take any amount of damage, exhaust Jet Boots, prevent 1 of that damage for each face-down encounter card. So now you could in theory use the Jet Boots to even block a whole hit without even having to use a Bad Boy or defend or chump block with an ally. So that's pretty good. That's another good defense. Now again, I feel like Star-Lord's pack is all reliant on getting a lot of encounter cards. And how does that play? I think it's going to be very scenario specific. Some scenarios, the encounter cards might not be that bad. But others, if you get 3-4 a turn, that you're looking at a pretty rough turn, I feel like. We have Leaders of the Galaxy. 3 cost upgrade. Again, could be free. So you can see a lot of his cards just happen to be at that 3 sweet spot. Each Guardian character you control gains +1 thwart. Now remember, all allies are guardians for him. So essentially you and every ally you control is with +1 thwart. So that's why Star-Lord comes with leadership. So essentially the more allies you have out, the more benefit this is. Other than that, it's probably not the greatest card in my opinion, because for the 3 cost, it might just not do much on its own, but it's pretty good. I mean, Thruster Boots for Rocket is 2 cost and gives him +1 thwart. So 1 more to give all your allies, just gonna make sure you have allies you want to play that can thwart, even in other aspects, can still be beneficial. Star-Lord's helmet, the infamous helmet. While you are in hero form, you gain +1 hand size for each face-down encounter card in front of you. So say you built yourself up 2-3 cards in front of you, your hand size is now an 8. So when you draw up, you're going to have more cards. So, which is going to be even better because if Star-Lord burns through his deck, he gets an encounter card. Well, that just makes his other cards better to begin with. You know, it's free. It's free. Free resources basically at that point. Now we hop into the leadership cards that he came with. So we get a bunch of allies actually. We get Adam Warlock. So Adam Warlock is a 3-cost ally, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 health. When he attacks or thwarts, discard 1 card at random from your hand, and based on the printed resource, it either removes 3 threat, heals 3 damage, or deals 3 damage. If it's a wild, it does your choice. Now here's my question for this card. Does it matter if it's a double resource card? Like if you discard a double resource, does it do it twice? Or does it just proc 1? I think it just does it once because it doesn't say for each printed resource on there. It just says if that card's printed resource. So take, for instance, salvage. Well, he wouldn't have salvage, but energy, it's just double energy. There's no other symbol. So I guess it wouldn't matter. That would have been good to make it worth getting rid of a double resource. But I guess you spend it before you use it. We have Better Ray Bill. 5-cost ally. Again, prime candidate to make cheaper. 1 thought, 3 attack. Asgard. We got some Asgard cards finally. 4 cost, 4 health minion. After Beta Ray Bill attacks and defeats a minion, remove 2 threat from a scheme. But a 3 attack makes him pretty good. So if he can attack for 3, defeat a minion, and remove 2 threat. Do it a few times. Say 3 times. That's 9 damage, 6 threat, and a chump block. All for potentially 2 resources. Yondu. Now unfortunately Yondu is... What can we say about Yondu? He's not good. I'm sorry. 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 1 attack. No consequential damage on his attack. 2 health, and his attacks gain ranged. So he ignores retaliate, which is fine. So he's basically a black cat, essentially. He does 1 damage, doesn't take consequential damage. Ignores retaliate, which is a benefit. Improvement. The issue is I don't see Yondu getting any play in any deck besides Star-Lords. Because for 4 cost, he's not worth 4. Now you pay him for 1, that's fine. But for 4, no, he's not worth it. Not worth it 1 bit, in my opinion. Okay, got some new events. Air Supremacy. Choose up to X number of enemies, where X is equal to the number of aerial cards you control. Deal 3 damage to each chosen enemy. So the question is, how many... So let's see, Nova Prime is an aerial card. Anybody else aerial? By default? Adam Warlock is aerial. So that's 2. So if you had an Adam Warlock, a Nova Prime, and Star-Lord, that's 3 characters. So you could do 9 damage. Or deal 3 damage to 3 people, sorry. It's good. I think it's good if you specifically build for it. Gotta make sure you have aerial minions or ways to give minions aerial. So, okay, pretty good card. Blades of Glory. Now this is the big burn card in my opinion. Each Guardian character gets +2 thwart and +2 attack this phase. At the end of the phase, deal 1 damage to each Guardian character. So it's almost like a lead from the front, but it's stronger, but you take damage from it. So it's definitely that last, like if you need to milk out like, 3-4 more out from your group, go out in a Blaze of Glory, just do it. Probably wouldn't do it against the Collector, but it's okay con. Get readies, we've seen those quite a few times. New card, Target Practice. When an ally with a weapon upgrade makes an attack, discard Target Practice. That ally gets +2 attack for that attack. So, but without looking into the rest, I know there are some, but I'm going to quickly, for you guys, there's only 1, and it comes in this pack. So, the issue I have with Target Practice is, as of now, there's not much, use for it. There's not many weapon upgrades you can attach to an ally. So you discard it, ally gets +2. Not the great. Now the upgrade we do get is Laser Blaster. It's attached to a Guardian ally, so that's not bad because we get like all our allies or Guardians in the case of Star-Lord, so it works for him. And then you see attached ally gets +1 attack and its attacks gain overkill. Now the +1 attack is pretty good, especially if you add it to like Yondu, who now his attack is a 2, makes him a bit better. Attach it to like a black cat, same thing, even better. You can see where we're going with that. In those kind of people, it makes sense to add to kind of increase their stats on. But you can attach it to Black Cat, sorry, because Black Cat isn't a Guardian, and there's no way to make someone a Guardian as of yet. I don't believe. However, you have other options like Rocket Raccoon. Hits attacks a 4, it would be a 5 with a laser pistol, but he already has overkill, so it's kind of moot at that point. So I do feel like some of his leadership cards, while good, are a bit lacking currently. His basics. Cosmo. 2 cost. 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 health. When Cosmo attacks or thwarts, name a card type, then discard the top card of a deck. If that card is of the name type, Cosmo does not take consequential damage for this use. Now what's interesting about this is, with Peter Quill's alter ego ability, you can flip the cards around. So you know what card would be on the top of your deck. You can then if you have Cosmo out, use Cosmo and he'll kind of won't do a thwart. He's also a good target for a laser pistol in that case as well. So fun, a little gimmicky, but kind of makes sense for Star-Lord to be maybe a bit gimmicky. The CITT, which the flavor text actually describes what it means. It's called the Cool Interstellar Travel Ship. Anyway, 2 cost upgrade support. Sorry, 2 cost support. Exhaust the CITT and spend 2 resources of any type to ready a Guardian character. You're probably going to be readying yourself. Maybe a powerful ally. Maybe if you're not playing Star-Lord, you could ready a Groot after he defends for you. Or ready Rocket to give another minion killing. So that's not a bad card. You have Nowhere, the infamous floating skull in space. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. So we have 4 of them currently. Increase your ally limit by 1. After a player plays a Guardian ally, exhaust Nowhere, that player draws 1 card. So this is good because it'll help leadership decks for Rocket, leadership decks for Gamora, Star-Lord, Groot. It'll help them, gives you more allies, and you can play Guardian allies. You have a few of them in your decks, so not bad. Pulse Grenade, it's a weapon upgrade. Does not attach to anybody though, however. Discard the Pulse Grenade and choose an enemy. Discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Deal 1 damage to the enemy for each boost icon discarded this way. This could be fun in like Scarlet Witch. Just give them more ways to do damage with boost icons. It's kind of fun. Again, gimmicky, not that bad. And lastly, we'll look at his bad cards. So his alter ego, same thing. Flip, exhaust. Most people have that. Discard an elemental gun from play. So you have to lose the gun otherwise. If you cannot, you place 3 threat. That's not terrible. Depending on how much you're using the gun, it's pretty much very close, in my opinion, to Spider-Woman's, which I've been using quite a bit now recently. His Nemesis Scheme is the budding crime syndicate. Comes in with 2+2 per player, and just has an extra card to it. So nothing too crazy. Mr. Knife. 2 scheme, 2 thought, 6 health. So he's decently sturdy. Retaliate 1. And the first treachery the engaged player reveals, each villain phase gains surge. So he forces you to draw an extra card if it's a treachery card. Not bad. And then he has 3 copies of Spartory Cunning, which is discard 1 card at random from your hand, then take 1 damage and place 1 threat. Not terrible. Definitely not one of the strongest Nemesis. Like I wouldn't be heartbroken to see that shuffled into my deck. And then we have the extra cards, which are interesting. These cards really focus on aerial. You have Dive Bomb, 4-cost aggression card. Play if you have aerial. Deal 7 damage to 1 enemy and then 1 damage to each enemy, to each other enemy. So this is a pretty good card because a lot of minions in Guardians of the Galaxy or Galaxy's Most Wanted have 7 health. So you can take out one of those 7 health minions and do 1 damage. And it gives aggression a good AoE. It's also not bad for Thor, who has aerial. It's a bit expensive for him though. But if you can find a way to play it cheaper, 7 to 1 and 1 to everything else, pretty good. Give it to Rocket, who gets aerial with his thruster boots. Set up all those other minions for like a good rocket launcher shot. Draw them cards. Agile Flight is the Justice one. Again, play only if you have aerial. Remove a total of up to 5 threat from amongst schemes as you choose for 3. So it's 3 for 5. But you can split it how you want. So it's none of it goes to waste. Not terrible. I think it's a good way to get some extra, squeeze some out if you need to. I wouldn't be too that's not that bad. And then Ever Vigilant. For protection, ready your hero and remove 2 threat from the main scheme if you have aerial. That's not bad. Ready yourself helps those allies who play protection who can't ready themselves. And you gain 2 threat off the scheme as well, so little help removing the threat. So with that, final thoughts. My final thoughts on the Star-Lord pack is it's an interesting pack. I haven't had a chance to really break it out in like full-on play. I kind of want to test it out first before I give it a rating, if you will. But my initial impression is I think to play Star-Lord, you're going to have to play wild and free. You're going to have to be like, you know what? I'm taking 4 encounter cards and I'll just have to figure out how to survive this. And that's kind of, I guess, how Star-Lord kind of works. He doesn't really... he somehow figures out how to do it. You're also going to be drawing a lot of cards between some of your upgrades you have. So now I feel like if you're playing in a scenario that has maybe a lot of minions, it's going to not be that bad. But if you're playing on a scenario that has a lot of bad cards that like attack you, cards that, I mean, there's a good chance you're probably going to be hitting Shadows of the Past, every game almost, by drawing that many encounter cards. I think if you're playing in the campaign, I definitely would give him or somebody onrush to at least deal with one of them. Star-Lord and Spider-Man could be fun because you could cancel some of the cards with enhanced Spidey sense. But overall, I think that's how you're going to play Star-Lord. He's going to be very spiky. Can probably do tons of damage. It can just go full-on crazy. And you're essentially trying to, I guess, defeat the villain before you even have to flip over half those cards. Doesn't matter if you have 7 encounter cards in front of you if the villain is defeated. Like say you somehow draw say you draw 2 Daring Escapes. You use your ability, so you have 3 encounter cards in front of you, right? You play Sliding Shot. So that's 2, 4, 6, that's 11 damage in one right there. Maybe you have an Elemental Gun. do another 3 damage. Kind of stuff. So you can see you can quickly how the damage quickly adds up pretty fast. That's 14 plus his 16, and that's only cost you 3 resources, and you probably have a few other ones, especially if you built your hand up from last turn. So overall, definitely really spiky. I feel like really powerful, but really dangerous in that if you don't properly plan, and depending on the scenario, you're gonna probably get hit really hard with 4 or 5 encounter cards. So at that point, you're playing like Heroic 3 at that point. So be careful about that, but otherwise, damn solid card. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy this card review.